Welcome one and all back to the Viper's Nest, and I hope you'll pardon me for doing this video whilst eating my lunch, but, you know, I am a stay-at-home dad, and I've only got so much time in the day. So I've been playing Silent Hill 2 Remake recently, and that game is very, very good. And I've also been watching a lot of survival challenges recently by a lovely gentleman on the YouTubes named Ruga Rabid. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all of his takes, but he does put out some pretty quality content, in my opinion, so go check him out if you have a chance. So, today I am seeking to answer the question, could my second favorite video game character, Goro Majima from the Yakuza series, survive Silent Hill? And now people are probably wondering, Jack, why your second favorite character and not your first favorite character? Well, my first favorite character from video games is Virgil from the Devil May Cry series, and I'm pretty sure Virgil would eat Silent Hill alive. It just wouldn't be fair. So, to start off, who is Goro Majima? Goro Majima is the deuteragonist and sometimes antagonist of the Yakuza series, and next year is getting promoted to protagonist of his own game in the form of the Like a Dragon Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii game, which was not a sentence I ever thought was possible. So that's really about all I'm going to tell you about Majima, because there's a lot to Majima, some of which I might address as it comes up, but really, you should just go play the Yakuza series. It's a very, very, very good video game series, one of my favorites, as a matter of fact. So, that's who Majima is. He is a high-ranking member of the Yakuza. He's currently the patriarch of his own family. He's known as the Mad Dog of Shimano because he's a little bit fucking crazy. Yeah. So, question the second. What/where is Silent Hill? And that is an entire rabbit hole in and of itself, one that does not have a whole lot of concrete answers. Short version is, once upon a time on the shores of Toluca Lake, there was a cult, and they did some cult stuff involving some old gods. So now either there is an old god sleeping under Silent Hill, or the town of Silent Hill itself has become sentient, and the town likes to fuck with people by summoning monsters and preying on people's, like, guilt and insecurity and stuff like that, which that could become a bit of a problem for Majima, but we'll see, won't we? And that's really about all I have to say about the town. It fucks with people and summons monsters. Monsters that are usually tied in some way to the way in which Silent Hill is choosing to fuck with people. Like, in Silent Hill 2 Remake, James has some issues where he either did or considered infidelity, and that's the source of the weirdly sexy, creepy nurses. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Also, go play the Silent Hill series, if you can. It's kind of hard nowadays with, like, licensing and shit. You're probably going to have to emulate it, but I didn't tell you to do that. So, we're going to divide this challenge into 3 separate phases. Combat, puzzles, and then general Silent Hill town fuckery, I guess you could say. So starting off, combat. Goro Majima versus the monsters of Silent Hill. And honestly, I think Majima is going to be just fucking fine in this particular category. The first 3 games of the Silent Hill franchise are just normal people going to this town and having to fight their way through all these monsters and stuff, and, well, I guess depending on the endings you get, they survive. They don't have a good time of it, but they survive. I mean, you got Harry Mason in the first game, who's just, he's a writer. You've got James in the second game, who is an office clerk, and then Heather in the third game, who is a 17-year-old high school girl, and they all manage to fight their way through Silent Hill. It is a challenge, sure, but they do it. I mean, canonically, for my ending of Silent Hill 3, Heather Mason beat God to death with a steel pipe. So, yeah. Let's talk about Majima and how good of a fighter he is. Majima is a very good fighter. Probably the second best fighter in the Yakuza franchise next to Kiryu, if you don't count the optional Amon clan boss fights. And even then, the main characters usually win against the Amon clan. So Majima has 4 fighting styles, at least going by Yakuza 0. He's got Thug, which is your basic all-around fighting style, Breaker, where Majima straight up starts breakdancing all over people, Slugger, where Majima pulls out the baseball bat and goes to town, and then his trademark Mad Dog fighting style, where he wields his Demon Fire dagger and jumps around all over the place like a freaking poodle on crack, or something like that. So Majima is also insanely strong. He, at one point, punched through a floor that was, like, probably 1.5 to 2 feet thick of solid concrete, and he just did that with his bare hands. So, my guess, Majima could take most of the monsters in Silent Hill with his bare hands, and that's not even then factoring in, like, his baseball bat or his dagger, which just makes him even more fucking dangerous. Now, he might come upon some monsters like, I guess, Pyramid Head, who kind of can't be killed, but also Pyramid Head is supposedly specific to just James in Silent Hill 2, but, I mean, he's also in Dead by Daylight now, so who knows what's going on anymore. But when Majima comes up against monsters that can't be killed, he is more than spry and agile enough to just avoid those monsters completely if he really had to. So, combat, yeah, Majima's gonna be fine. Second category, puzzles. And excuse me while I take a bite of my pretzel with cheese here, I'm quite hungry. Alright, puzzles. I don't think Majima's gonna have too much of an issue in the puzzle category, because Majima, in addition to being insanely strong and a very talented fighter, he's also extremely smart. Sorry, I'm chewing. I'm trying to get this going. So, at the start of Yakuza 0, Majima is running a cabaret club, the Cabaret Grand. And he's running this club as a punishment for a fuck-up that happened before the events of Yakuza 0. And Majima was savvy enough to take this cabaret club and build it into the largest and best cabaret club in all of Sotenbori, Japan. Like, no other cabaret club can fucking touch the Grand under Majima's management. And again, he's doing this as a punishment. He does it so friggin' well that his, like, Yakuza superior, when Majima wants to get back into the Yakuza game properly, is like, dude, you're raking in, like, hundreds of millions of yen every single night. You're doing great here. Do you really want to go back to being like a street-level Yakuza guy? And then Majima, for his own reason, does want to do that. But not only does he have the Cabaret Grand, he also ends up taking over another cabaret club in his, like, little optional cabaret club management minigame. And then he manages to take that cabaret club from failing and about to go out of business and putting it second only to the Grand itself as far as, like, a successful and profitable cabaret club. And then there's the plot of the actual game, where Majima has to be incredibly clever and navigate all these crazy branching, like, schemes and stuff that are going on in the Yakuza game itself. So, Majima is very fucking smart. I can't speak to his, like, education level. I don't know if he ever went to university or anything like that. But he's still very fucking smart. I don't think he will have much trouble with the puzzles of Silent Hill, unless he runs across one from, like, the hard puzzle mode of Silent Hill 3, where you actually have to have, like, an intimate knowledge of Shakespeare's entire bibliography to solve this puzzle at the very beginning of the game. Yeah, outside of shit like that, again, Majima's gonna be fine. So then we get to the third category, town fuckery, and this is where Majima's gonna start having some problems. So, the town of Silent Hill preys on people's guilt and insecurity and stuff like that. Their baggage, if you will. And Majima is carrying around a lot of baggage. Like, he has the whole Mad Dog of Shimano personality, which is not actually the true Majima. The true Majima is actually a very laid-back and chill guy, but spoilers, at the end of Yakuza 0, Majima comes to the conclusion that if he's going to survive in the Yakuza world, he has to be fucking crazier than everybody else. And then he does that. He crafts this new persona for himself, the Mad Dog. And as time has gone on, Majima has been hit with a little bit of the trope of quote-unquote becoming the mask, where he's been acting crazy for so long that he might actually be starting to go a little bit crazy. And then there's some leftover guilt from the stuff that he had to do in Yakuza 0, involving having to assassinate a blind chick, which he does not actually do. He actually kind of falls in love with her a little bit, and then he has to go off the reservation and concoct this scheme to fake her death. It's a whole thing that he feels very, very bad about. And that's where Silent Hill is possibly going to come out on top, is preying on Majima's guilt and insecurity, of which, like I said, he has a lot. But on the other side of that, there is a theory that Silent Hill isn't trying to be a sadistic douchebag. It's actually trying to help the people that come into Silent Hill, work through their shit. In the good ending, James, spoiler alert, James kills his wife, and the reason he kills his wife is down to, certain choices and stuff you make throughout the game, so it could differ, but the good ending ends with James leaving Silent Hill and adopting this little girl he met named Laura, and going off and starting a new life, having kind of dealt with the guilt he felt over whatever reason it was that he killed his wife. And then with Heather, Silent Hill is maybe trying to help her come to terms with her father's death. Spoiler alert, her adoptive father is Harry from Silent Hill 1. He dies halfway through Silent Hill 3. It's a whole thing. Heather wants revenge. There's that, plus all the other stuff that ties back to Silent Hill 1, with Heather being a reincarnation of Alessa, and she has to deal with that shit too. I'm not going to go into it. It's too much. But there's enough here to build a case that Silent Hill is actually trying to help people. And if Silent Hill is actually trying to help people, and Silent Hill decides it wants to help Majima come to terms with all the baggage he's carrying, then there is a very good chance that Majima, being who he is, can and will overcome whatever challenges Silent Hill puts in front of him. But we also don't know if that's the case, and Silent Hill may actually just be a sadistic douchebag. That's one of the many things about Silent Hill that is up in the air. So if Silent Hill is on Majima's side, I think Majima will eventually make it out in the end. If it's not, honestly, it's a coin toss at that point. I mean, Majima already, I think, is going to conquer the combat and puzzles side of Silent Hill, but the actual, deep emotional trauma he has and the psychological torment that Silent Hill may or may not be inflicting upon him, that's another thing entirely. And then there's one other thing that we have to consider. So, in Silent Hill, most of the protagonists are normal people. I already talked a bit about Harry, James, and Heather, but then there's also Travis, the truck driver. There's Murphy, a prisoner who ends up escaping jail into Silent Hill. And then Alex Shepard, who is probably the most physically competent fighter of the entire series, because... so in Silent Hill Homecoming, you play as Alex Shepard, and the game wants you to think that he is a combat veteran who is returning to his home of Shepherd's Glen, which is near Silent Hill on the shores of Toluca Lake. And then the whole thing starts. And Alex is a very good fighter. But then you find out later in the game that no, Alex is actually not a military veteran. He was in an insane asylum because he accidentally killed his brother. And the military veteran thing was just a concoction of his own mind to cover up his trauma or whatever. That does not stop Alex from being possibly the best fighter in the entire series. And if we apply a little bit of logic, I think we can figure this out. So Alex's dad was a military veteran. It's his dog tags that Alex is wearing at the beginning of the game. So I don't think it's entirely out of the realm of possibility, despite the fact that Alex's parents treated him like shit, that his dad would not have instructed him in how to fight. And Alex does fight very well. I think it was possibly the first time in Silent Hill they actually implemented a dodge mechanic. And with that dodge mechanic and Alex's own know-how of using things like knives, pipes, axes, guns, Alex can very easily wreck his way through Shepherd's Glen and Silent Hill just with the little bit of training that he probably had from his dad. So, where was I going with this? Right, okay, so another thing we don't know about Silent Hill is whether or not Silent Hill actually scales its monsters to whoever is in Silent Hill at that point. Like I said, normal people have got through Silent Hill multiple times, and then there's a somewhat trained guy like Alex who easily got through Silent Hill. So I don't think Silent Hill scales its monsters to the combat prowess of the people inside of Silent Hill. So if Silent Hill does not scale, then Majima will win combat encounters easily. But if it does, if Silent Hill does scale to Majima's skills, then Majima is going to have a hell of a lot more trouble with Silent Hill than I would have originally posited that he would have had. Ugh. So, to wrap it all up, do I think Majima can survive Silent Hill? Yes in combat, yes in puzzles, maybe in town fuckery, if the town does not scale the difficulty to Majima's skill level. If it does, I'd give Majima I don't know, like a 2 out of 3 chance of surviving Silent Hill. Yeah, that's my thoughts. I think Majima will make it through. I really do. Even if the town does scale to him, I think Majima can make it out of Silent Hill just fine. Well, that's about all I got for you, so thank you for sitting here and listening. A like and a subscribe would sure be appreciated. I will see you on the next episode, and as always, have yourself a wonderful day.